All right. This is a service and excellence thing. We're gonna talk a little bit about driveline day. So this is the reason we're doing all this kind of stuff. Okay, guys, watch what I'm talking about. Okay. I used to have a homeroom teacher when I was in high school, and when they were doing us to stop talking, she would say, "Okay, students, let's have the talking." I wasn't exactly sure what she meant by that, except she was basically said, "Hush." Service and excellence. Hello. Look at that. It's not a quick take today, is it? All right. We have to do it this way. Oh, there it is. Read it, learn it, live it. Okay, look at these different things here. You got to know kind of what. This is fairly simple. This is the drive side of the pinion. See how it's bowed this way? That's the drive side of that gear, and this when it goes against the side that's curved this way, that's the drive side. Now the other side, you know, is when you're in reverse. All right, you got the toe of the gear, and you've got the heel of the gear, and you've got the root, which is down there at the bottom, and you got the flank side, which is your coast side, and then you got the drive side, which is that side there. So these are lands. See the flat part on top of the gear? And so everybody, you've seen that before? You know about those terms. Pop test coming, pop test coming. Remember that. Burn it in. All right, you got it? All right, come on, buddy. Let's go. Let's go. There we go. Look at that. It went twice. That's okay. All right. Now, you got to have maintenance and repair work. That is the most neglected part, and most times people don't think about this a whole lot. And when I was working at the dealership for the Mazda back in the early 80s, whenever we got a Mazda pickup in on a 7,500 mile service, there was a little drain plug on the bottom of the differential that you would take out, and you would drain the fluid out of it, and then you would clean the magnet off on that kind of thing. It had a lot of fuzz on it. That was at 7,500 miles. That was a 7,500 mile service, okay? And so we would drain that and replace it, but for the rest of the life of that truck, it said unless there was a leak, you didn't ever have to do anything like that again. So why is it that we don't have to replace our gear oil, but we do have to change our transmission fluid and our engine oil?
Because I ain't getting hot.
And what else? You got combustion byproduct getting past your rings in your oil, right?
You ain't getting gas in there.
That's right, and gas and everything else. And so, but on your transmission, when your transmission has had to pull a lot, particularly if you use it hard, the transmission fluid starts to change properties, and it gets dark and ugly, and it gets sticky, and it starts causing valves to stick, and all kinds of stuff goes wrong. It actually changes the properties of the fluid whenever it gets hot. All right. Differentials on linear platforms. What's a linear platform?
Straightforward.
The one that's got, well, linear is when it means the engine is mounted north-south, which means pointing at the radiator, the front of the engine with the belts and all is pointing at the radiator, like in a pickup truck or a Crown Victoria or something like that. I don't want you to look at these price differences. It may be hard to read. I just did this for the fun of it, just because, but this is absolutely true. I've run into this firsthand right here. 1998 F-150 four-wheel drive pickup, 4.8, like that. So, you got, these are spider gears, right? This is basically the little backside gears and the spider gears that go in there. $52.57 for a set of those gears, right? That's pretty good, isn't it? Set 98 Chevy truck, K1500 truck, four-wheel drive, $423 for that same set of gears. And if you hold them up next to one another, they look just alike. Now, I don't know why they're so much higher, but we put some in, you know, in a Ford pickup out here because we had some busted gears. Then a Chevrolet came in with busted gears on it. When we went to change them, it was like, we could buy a junkyard rear end for more than those gears cost, you know. So it boggled our mind. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But different fluids. All right, now how many of you guys, have you ever noticed, like if you get into the little white Chevrolet, 2001 Chevrolet pickup that we have for a trailer truck out there, have you ever looked at the rear end and read the tag that's on it where the fluid fill hole is? It uses and this is a 2001 Chevy, it uses a specific kind of grease, oil, if you will, and also how much oil how do you know when you've got enough oil in it? No, that's not true. On that one, it's 40 millimeters below the hole when it's right. Isn't that something?
Sure would.
Yeah, ain't that crazy? I mean, on that particular one, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I think I'm saying, don't assume that you know. I mean, that tag is a real robust plastic tag. If you have that white one up on the left, yours too, look under there and see what it says. And whenever we did that, now I will tell you that when we put that Ford back together, the oil that we put in it was so expensive to go in the rear end back in those days that the business office called and asked me if I made a mistake when I charged it out. Because it took like $50 worth of oil, because of the way it said oil cost that we put in there. And it was like $17 a pint or something like that. You know? All right, so everybody pretty much knows this, but I'm gonna go over it anyway. Low gear ratios give you a higher top speed, better mileage per gallon, slower off the line, less torque. And the race car guys like Dustin's gonna know that higher gears, and this is, look at your gear ratio going up 331, 355, 373, 410, 430. Lower top speed, fewer miles per gallon, quicker off the line, and more torque. That's what you basically got in one direction and another. All right, so the best way to remove the confusion about service and differentials and avoid problems is by learning a few of the basics. All right, so here's a question for any of us. You know, why a full floating axle instead of a semi-floating axle? See those pictures? Most of the differentials that roll into service bays are either full floating axle or semi-floating axle. And knowing which one is which can save time. Now the one on the bottom is the full floating axle. See that? The one on the top. You know, my dad had a Chevrolet pickup that had floating axles on it, and I mentioned that to some of the guys that whenever I was growing up, I was about the only mechanic amongst the bunch. And when I said something about floating axles, they would always making jokes about driving it through the creek and all that kind of stuff, because they'd have the foggiest idea what floating axles were. You know, and I would just say it just without even thinking about it. And they go, oh, floating axle, what, you go in the water and just, you know what I'm saying? Duh. But anyway, this is floating axles. Now, why would I want this instead of that on some vehicles? That's one sort of, yeah, but what else?
Ain't the pressure on the housing and not the actual.
Listen to him. The housing's carrying the weight of the vehicle, the axle's just driving it down the road on the floating axle. Now on this other one up here, the axle itself is actually carrying the weight of the vehicle. And there are failures, huh?
The bearing's gotta be pressed on to be on that.
Yeah, he's gotta be pressed on. And so, all right, so what's wrong with this picture? Huh? Who knows?
Looks like string.
There's something there that's supposed to be there.
What do you think?
The, broke.
Yeah, the doggone thing's twisted off. It just twisted off smooth, but it's a real pretty break, and it almost looks like it's supposed to be that way. But what's gonna happen when he tries to drive off? He's just gonna sit there. You know, his spider's gears are gonna raise Cain if the other one's still hooked up on the other side, but he ain't going nowhere. Unless, you know, maybe if he had limited slip, he might.
So did you not notice it until you went to put it back on?
No, he took it off. Now, somebody had put that gummy red, ugly silicone that I hate on that one when they put it back together last time.
Okay.
And that rolled to the inside. And when he pulled it off, you know, there's the axle right there. Now, how would you get that axle out of there?
Eyeball maybe.
I'll find it.
Big, strong magnet, maybe? Pull it out? Whatever. All right, now here's what it looks like. Usually pretty simple. Now, I used to work on some, I guess forklifts, I can't remember what it was. And instead of just having the bolts going straight through that axle plate right there, you need to have your bucket where you can catch some grease, because these bearings right here are swimming in grease, you know. But anyway, they would have little cones in there. There were little split cones in there, and you'd have to work those things out. It was an absolute pain to get those things out of there. But anyway, this right here is another, you know, the semi-floating axle. It's another sort of look at it right there. And that's kind of what it looks like. And there's your axle there. We got some of those axles standing over. You can see how that works. And we also got some floating axle stuff over there too in the other shop. Now this is the three types of stress that you wind up with. There's actually another one that's this crush stress, but I just put these three up here. Torsion stress is twisting. See how it begins to crack at an angle? Tensile stress is pulling it apart. I will tell you that that failure I just showed you was a torsion stress in spite of the fact it didn't crack crooked. Usually it will. In that case, it's twisted off real smooth. And then you got shear stress where it's going one way or another to shear it apart. And you ever seen this happen before?
Yeah, my dad's race car.
Huh?
Lock broke on the inside.
Yeah, my dad's race car did it.
Yep. What happens is that little C-clip fails. Sometimes it'll break and it'll fall out of there. There's nothing to keep that axle in there then. And out it goes. Right? All right, C-clip failure. All right, what about this right here?
Good job.
Huh?
Yo's U-joint broke.
Yeah, where is that though? On a vehicle.
Front axle.
Front axle, yeah, like a four-wheel drive pickup truck. And what happened was Zane was coondogging this thing, and he busted it, right? That's what
I
it
didn't
was.
do that.
Yeah. No, actually, that's a picture I got offline. All right, here, what about this one here? Where the axle's weak by design.
That's the one Justin pulled apart.
Yeah. Yeah, he did pull it apart, didn't he? All right, right here, see how that stepped down? See how that stepped down right there? That axle's got a sort of a thin place right there? And that twisted that one off.
I bet he turned it backwards.
Turned it backwards. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you know how they turned the motor backwards over and got it out of time?
Yeah, Zane, yeah,
I bet-
Zach will have to live that down.
I bet he turned the axle backwards.
Turned the engine backwards and he got it about, 15 teeth out of time. All right. Now what happened here?
Justin.
Can you guys look at that picture and figure out what happened there? That's a semi-floating axle. Anybody know?
Where's the rest? He was coondogging in the mud hole.
Coondogging.
What are you doing?
Now this is something I want you to look at right here. Well, a couple of things. This right here got a flange, and there's some holes in this that you reach in there and take those bolts out, and you just pull that axle out because it's a different kind of rear end, and I'm going to show you what kind of chunk that has in a minute. Well, what somebody did on this, and I guess they were trying to shorten it or something, they just put a piece of pipe on there, and they tack welded it here and here, and there and there. A tack weld, seriously? On two sides? How long is that gonna last, All right, so, that's a patch job, All right, somebody got rough with these, that's a torsional brake. See how it was twisted when it broke. Typically when you see one that's broke like that, of course you'll see this axle falling out from under here, Somebody got rough with them. Hard driving can break either kind. Now then, there's only so much an axle can take. See how those are twisted off? They actually are broke completely off, but whoever took the picture slid those back up against there. And so, there you go. All right, sometimes you just gotta stop and fix it. Now, I clipped this picture out because over here to the side, his son was standing there, and he was about probably 3 years old. He's naked as a jaybird, just standing there looking off somewhere while Daddy's working on the car. That's out in the desert somewhere overseas, whatever. Sometimes you gotta stop and just fix it, He got his old box full of tools there he's working with. Everything. All right, this is one way I've seen them break. Now, one time when I was working down in Texas, we had a truck that the people used to pump, to service vehicles, and there was a pump that was on that truck, and the fuelers wanted to use that pump for something anyway. And I was told by the boss man to put this micro brake lock thing on there. Basically what the micro brake lock thing does, you put it down here by the seat and you flip this lever over and you pump the brakes up and it holds the fluid at the brakes and just locks them down solid where there ain't no way that truck's gonna move. Well, this was nearly a brand new international truck and it had an 8-liter diesel engine in it. And these guys, when they went to drive off on it, they didn't know about this micro brake lock because the shift changed in the middle of the job. Nobody educated these guys. Look, when you drive off, you gotta do this. They started trying to drive off, and that 8-liter engine is a Haas. And what it did was it twisted the axle off right in there by the rear end, just like that. And that axle on that thing was that big around. That's how much power that thing had to pop that sucker off. And I had to pull all that nonsense out and replace the axle with it. All right. Here's another one of those. Now you can see how dangerous this would be in traffic, right? For that thing to run out of there like that. And it's really something that can support all that weight there. All right, when it happens more than once, you probably need to be finding out why it's happening or who's driving it crazy, right? Okay, let me ask you this question. Why is a CV joint better than a regular U joint?
Got more places to put pressure.
Well, when you turn a regular U joint, like even on your extension out there, too sharp, it gets hard and easy and hard and easy and hard and easy, you know what I'm saying? And if you turn a U joint like that, too sharp, like if you had it on a front wheel drive car, when you turn sharp, it's gonna go, do all kinds of stuff. But if you got a constant velocity joint, it doesn't get slow and fast and hard and easy. That's why they call it a constant velocity joint. Everybody got that? Constant velocity means, that's like the one that you put on your impact, you know, the little black one that's got the ball in there, that's a constant velocity joint. All right? If you got two U joints, it works a little bit better, and in the early 70s, a lot of your Chevrolets and some of your Lincolns and, you know, bigger Fords would have these double U joints on there. All right, so this is a different type of style. Now, what kind of rear end you got on your race car? You got a pumpkin chunk like this, or you got one that's put together?
Mine's a regular pumpkin.
It pulls out like that, doesn't it? You pull the axles out like this on either side, and then you unbolt all these bolts and you bring that pumpkin out. You can put that one up on a bench and you can set it up.
That's just regular Ford rear end on that white one. And that black car is pieced together.
Okay.
Or a Pro-Line pieced together.
Now this one here,
Yeah, so
these
it's
nuts
like
right here, you turn those nuts to preload the bearings and also to move the ring gear back and forth and increase or decrease backlash. All right, so max sets only. You don't say, well, I got a bad ring gear, so I'm just going to put a ring gear in it. You need to put the ring gear and the pinion together. They're going to sing and howl and make all kind of racket. This right here is a catastrophic failure of a ring gear. Now this is on a bigger truck, but you can see how it happens. Spinning the wheels, driving on a firm road surface, trying to free up frozen brakes, rough trailer hookup. Just busted all the pieces. Duh. Catastrophic failure, right? Okay, this one right here is a shock failure. And basically what's going on that one, all of these are shock failures for similar reasons that I had over here listed a minute ago. Torsional shock failure, that's the pinion gear. It popped off right there. And I mean, these are some powerful engines that can do that. Whenever they first fuel injected the 7.5, which was the 460 Ford, they tuned that thing to where it had just massive, gigantic amounts of horsepower, like you can't believe. And so they said, well, after they tested all of it, they said we can either build a brand new transmission and a brand new drive line and a brand new rear end to go under it to keep it from tearing all that stuff up with all this power, or we can detune the engine. So they kept the existing transmission rear end and all they detuned the engine because it was doing crazy stuff like that. All right, fatigue failure. Right here you got ring gear, you got what they call beach marks. And basically they're little, you know, crescent looking chip off you got on there. Overloading the vehicle beyond the rated capacity, abusive operation over rough terrain. There's a fatigue crack right there, start of fatigue failure. This came from Spicer. And then you got a star or spiral fracture. That's a torsional fatigue failure. You know, it kept working and bending and all that, finally just gave way. Then you got beach marks on that. See, that when they say beach marks, it's basically a sort of a little dip in there, the sort of a crescent thing. And then right here you got pitting and spalling failures, basically little pits and everything. You got contaminated lube, incorrect lube, continuous overloading. So you have the drive pinion case crush, drive pinion spalling, pitting, and all that. Whenever you got to get one of these bearings off of here, there's a tool to pull the bearing off. But sometimes it's real aggravating to get it off there because then that cage will try to come off and all that, especially if you put it back on there. I've got a special puller that we can pull bearings off and I let you give that a crack. This right here, you know, that bearing wore out. And basically you just, I gotta take a chisel and try to split that and then, you know, bust it loose and get it off there like that, you know. All right, you gotta understand the tools, how to do backlash measurements. And we got one of those tools there, you might have seen it in the vise. And everybody's basically supposed to tear that rear end down over there and use those tools to set it up. You got a worksheet on that I gave out earlier this semester. Don't neglect learning how to use those tools because you need to know how to do it. And put no floor jack here. If you look under there and that thing's got an aluminum chunk under it, do not put a floor jack under there because you will ruin that darn thing. and it's like $1,000, $1,200 to replace it, you know, and your boss man is not gonna be happy if you say, well, I busted the differential housing. It may not happen until you know, it leaves, it comes back leaking, they look under there and you got jack marks on it, or somebody jacked it up and you was the one that worked on it last. Don't do that. You know, if you have to feel like you gotta do it, put a piece of wood on your jack. Be real gentle. I don't even like that because it might shake the case. Jack it up some other way. Don't jack it up under that. You know, the old cast iron, we're used to doing that. If you can't find the specs and the tag's gone, you count the pinion and ring gear teeth to find the ratio. 10-tooth pinion gear, 35-tooth ring gear. Anybody want to take a guess at that one?
3.5.
Sounds pretty good. Well, basically, you're going to do 3.5 turns of that one before that one turns once, right? All right. If the differential seals are leaking, check the breather. It's usually little, mounted in inconspicuously, and can stick easily due to contamination. You'll see them things all clogged up with dirt and everything else. It allows pressure to build in the differential housing and stresses the seals, and they'll start leaking. If I've got, incidentally, if I take a brake drum off, and I see a whole bunch of greasy crud in there, how do I know if that's gear grease or brake fluid?
Taste it.
Huh?
Smell on
Huh?
it. Taste the smell on it.
I put a little on my tongue. You'll know if it's brake fluid. You know? I mean, your tongue's washable, you can spit it out, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, but setting pinion bearing preload and ring gear backlash is an art more than a science. And I'm quoting Vanessa Atwell here because she writes some really good articles. She was talking about that. It's the gear contact pattern that tells you if you got it right. It's kind of like when you put plastic gauge on a crankshaft, on bearings in an engine. That's the better measurement than any other measurement you can do because it's measuring it with it in place. If you paint it with this marking compound and you turn it through and you see a pattern that's looking right, you know, like right in the middle of the gear, that's typically going to tell you when it's right. You get used to looking at it, you can tell. Incorrect tire inflation pressure, multiple tire sizes being used, and even an uneven tire wear can all affect differential operation. Why?
Feel one size turns are faster than the other.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take very much either. And I tell you something else, on your four-wheel drive, you better have all the tires the same size and none of them half wore out. Because you're going to have trouble with your four-wheel drive to do that too. The donut is bad for the differential. And you tell whoever is asking you for advice, if you have a flat tire on the front of a front-wheel drive car, you need to take the tire off the back on that side and put it on the front and put the donut on the back. A lot of people drive around for a long time with that little donut on one side of the front-wheel drive car or on one side of a rear-wheel drive car, and them gears are just raising cane on that thing. Personally, I hate those donuts, and as soon as I get one with a donut, that thing goes in the trash and I put a real tire in there. Whatever I have to do to make it fit, that's what I do. All right, differential seals leak. Now, I will tell you that some of the donuts they're making now are the same circumference as the other tire, they're just skinnier. But differential seals leak, vents clog, bearings growl. They work hard and they need regular maintenance, and the differential is often overlooked when vehicle inspections are done. Remember to check the oil in that gearbox on front wheel drive vehicles that have a separate oil chamber for the gearbox like a Toyota. Anybody got any comments or questions? Or war stories?
Yeah.